I lost your sound there for a minute, mate, but as long as I guess we'll cope with that as it goes through.
Yeah, no, it'll be fine. Can you hear me now?
Yes, gotcha.
No worries. So, James Fox on. Well, let's talk with James Fox. Basically, first ever episode for this new podcast, and I'm actually really humbled and honoured that you can come here and come on the show. And I know COVID is not really going to help much, but we can always enjoy, you know, the best of it. So I just want to say thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, my pleasure, mate. No worries. Not at all. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no worries. And the one thing I really wanted to talk about very first of all is a lot of my mates will remember you for the guy who made the Bluebirds Flying High 2008 song and everything. I just wanted to share this with you because I'm no singer. I'm more of a musical theatre kind of singing person. And I remember I was 14, 15 years old. And I remember going into this audition for this group, dramatics group, and I didn't know what song to sing or anything like that. And at the time, I was a big Cardiff City fan. I thought, oh, I've listened to this song recently, so I'll just sing through Blitz Flying High. But you know what?
You sang that for the audition?
Yeah, I sang that for my audition. So...
I'm guessing you didn't make it through then. No.
Oh, I made it through.
Oh, good man. Good man. There you go.
What it was, I remember because I'm used to acting, and singing was only just a fun part, really.
Right.
And I thought, oh my God, I'm not really a confident singer. What am I going to do? And so my dad and my mates were saying, just sing this song. You don't sing this song. And I just went, oh, all right then. But when you get nervous, I don't know what it's like if you train musical, singer, songwriter, and everything. But for me, I had the lyrics in my hand, and I'm shaking. I'm saying, "Watch the bluebirds flying high, oh, Dash is on a strike," and they were smiling, and they just went through it, and I thought, yes.
Come on. Yeah, that song's been a winner all round then. That's good. That's good to know.
Literally, but I just wanted to know what was the reason behind it, though? Because I know Cardiff were getting to the final and everything, but what was the reason, the story behind that song?
Yeah, I was going to ask you why you used to be a Cardiff fan, you're not anymore. What went wrong there?
I'll tell you this very quickly. I explained it on my Dragons Race podcast, but the reason why is because I was only young, and because I'm from Barry,
Right.
I thought Barry Town Football Club were no more growing up because they went through financial difficulties and they basically just disappeared into the darkness. And I just thought Jenna Park was used for local football and everything. So obviously Cardiff's just not far away from me, so I just started supporting them. So the Ninian Park vibes was what sucked me in basically, and when we moved to Cardiff City Stadium, we lost the atmosphere a bit, but I was still a very confident Cardiff City supporter. And the problem was, by the time the Malaysian owners came in, Vincent Pan came in and everything, and the whole system changed. That's what made me lose my passion and love when they turned to red. And I was like the Black Knight in Monty Python. I thought, no, I'll carry on. But what really done me in, and I don't want to ridicule the Cardiff City supporters because they're brilliant supporters anyway, but I remember it was a Premier League game. We were deep in Fulham, and all of a sudden, a group of Cardiff City supporters, and I was 16 at the time, but I had a beard, so I kind of give it away. So they were starting on me because I was apparently being annoying. I was doing my own thing, and they were threatening to kick my head in outside the stadium. So I was a bit, I was taken back by it. And that was the final nail in the coffin for me. I thought, I've had enough. And at that time, anyway, I was going to watch a lot of Barry Town home and away matches. And so the atmosphere there, and I felt, like I said, no disrespect to Cardiff, I felt more important at Barry than I was. And so that's where the change was. I still follow Cardiff. I still keep them up and everything. And a lot of people, don't get me wrong, I mean, 10 years down the line, a lot of people say, I thought you still supported Cardiff. And I just don't know, but, I still check out the Mighty Bluebirds. I still get happy when they win. And and I still have those memories, and I will not say a bad word, even though, I explain the reason why, but even to this day, no one should really ridicule Cardiff because of poor reasons, whatever. But that was just the way I felt back then.
No, gotcha.
But what was the story behind the song then, Bluebirds Flying High?
Well, I guess obviously, that's what I do. I'm a musician, songwriter, and I'm a big Cardiff fan. So, you know, you never well, if you watch Cardiff as long as I have since the early '80s, you never think you're going to get to an FA Cup final because when you're languishing at the bottom of the old fourth division, it's not really something that happens very often. So when we got to I think it was the semi-final, or maybe just before the semi-final against Barnsley. I thought, well, we could get through here. This could happen. I thought there's got to be an FA Cup song because that's always been a tradition. Especially in the '80s and '90s, it was very popular for teams to have an FA Cup song. I thought, well, I've got to do it. If I've got to get it done. And I just thought, everybody, if we win this game against Barnsley, everybody's going to turn up to the club with a cup song the day after. So, I thought I'd write it before that, thinking, we could get lucky and win it, and we did. And then literally the day after we beat Barnsley and we got to the final, I was there at the club with it, with my song already produced and done. Because a lot of people probably woke up that morning and thought, oh, I'm going to write, maybe write a song, and they did. There's a lot of other songs that were written, but I got in there first because I was so confident that we were going to win. I thought, if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be me, So yeah, and I just literally sat there. It took me 10 minutes. Some people probably think, wow, that long, No, it took me 10 minutes. I just sat on the piano one day and just had the chorus, which was pretty, it's just a pretty straightforward song. It doesn't save the world, but as a football song, I guess it does, it connected with the fans. We sold over 20-odd thousand copies, I think, got in the chart. Was it 13 or something? Which, when you're only selling out of Cardiff, is a absolute result. No record companies wanted to touch it because they said it would never get in the top 40. So it was a bit of a success all round, I think there's a disc up there actually with it on the.
Oh yeah, I can see it just in the corner. Yeah,
one of many. It's the only one I've got.
Well, you know what? When you seen him reach the top 13, I was doing my research before this podcast, and the Blue Was Flying High. It was #1 in the spots of the UK indie singles and the Welsh charts. So
right.
It's gotten somewhere, and it must have been,
right.
And the thing is as well, it's not left Cardiff City, and there's a lot of people who still play it, in their cars when they're going to watch them away or they're going home. And and the thing is as well, if you look at the other songs that come in, I mean Johnny Owens did "I'll Be There," and I can't remember the guy's name, but he did with the Blue Words We Do the Ayatollah. So this was around about the time where around about the time that you released the song and that, but. Not only did you release, when you made this song, you altered it a bit because when Cardiff got to the Carling Cup final, you altered it a bit. But did you want it to alter it, or did you think, no?
Do you know that was one of them things? When I look back now, I guess it was good to get all the you had to get the team on board, you had to get the club on board and the team on board. So I thought, well, it'd be clever or whatever to shoehorn all the players' names in, especially people like Enkelman. That's not an easy word to rhyme with. If I got all the players in there, maybe they'd be like, oh, he mentioned me there because, it was funny to see the players. You think they wouldn't care about that, but as soon as they got wind of it, they were like, do I get a mention? Do I get a mention? Every player was wondering what was said about them. So it was a good thing in terms of getting it through the front door and getting it to be the official song. But when I look back, it sort of date stamped it. So then, you can't, it's not one of those songs you can sing. I mean, the chorus, if you ever get to Wembley again, of course, you can sing the chorus. And I know a lot of people still play it, which is great. But looking back, if I'd have left the players' names out, maybe it wouldn't have been a hit, but then it could have been recycled, every year. And then maybe people would be sick of me even more than they already are.
And the thing about it is you've come with a great background of many moments, and especially in Eurovision, which is we're going to mention now, because my missus, she's a big fan of Eurovision, and and that was the first thing she looked at was Eurovision. You've got to ask these questions, and I don't know about today. I'm not, to be honest. I mean, I was a big fan of Eurovision, but I think in today's time, I think it's gone a bit too political. In my opinion, I think it's gone too political. But what's your initial when you performed at Eurovision? I mean, that's a career achievement in itself, and I've always been. But for you, what's your initial opinion on Eurovision, and what was it like to perform in Turkey to represent the UK?
Well, I mean, growing up, my dad was a drummer, and we always, I think you're either in a family that watches that every year or you're not, and we did, so you're always aware of it. We weren't fanatics, but you know, we were aware it was on, obviously, and a lot of, I think in the 80s and 90s, a lot of the big bands, you know, even people like, you know, like Bucks Fizz and stuff, they were in the charts when these people, you knew who these people were, and then you sort of root them from on Eurovision. It was kind of a bigger deal. Maybe now, not so much. I don't know. It's more of a, it's gone more to a sort of Eastern European, you know, contest. You know, it's a bit, like you said, very political. But I always had one eye on it. My dad was a big fan of Cliff Richard and the Shadows and people like that, and Lulu from the '60s. You know, so they obviously did Eurovision, so I was aware of it. And when I got asked to do it, I was kind of like, no, that's, you know, I've done Fame Academy, I've done, you know, bits and pieces. I thought that's, if you had Eurovision, that's like career suicide. You know, that's like every, you know, because a lot of these people do these shows and they're gone the year after. So it was a tough decision. But that year they said Sony Records were involved. So I thought, look, I've always wanted, you know, I got a record deal with Sony on the back of it. So I thought that was the big pull for me. Because I was reticent to do it, but then as soon as I got involved in it, it's you realise you're actually representing, you know, and it's going to sound obvious, but you're representing your country. And when do you ever get to do that? You know, if I'm not elite sort of sportsman or anything like that, I was never going to do that. So to be a musician, just bumming around, you know, doing gigs for, you know, whatever since I was about 7, it's like suddenly representing your country. That's, you know, that's it dawned on me, it's just kind of a big deal, you know, even if you don't take the contest seriously. It's when you're up there and you see you've got like maybe 20,000 people in the stadium watching all the British flags and stuff, and you realise there's like 300 million people watching. And this, in that moment, it's a big deal, and it's sort of yeah, it was a very proud moment. Actually, you see a few Welsh flags out there, a few daffodils flying, you know, and it's like, wow, don't mess this up. Yeah.
But when you went to Turkey to perform, you know, for the song, which was "Hold On to Our Love," was it very? What was the atmosphere like, and how did you? Cause, you know, when you got the seats and everything, when they do the results, you're all sat in different positions, and
In the green room, yeah.
yeah, you got the flash. But what was it like to be in presence of all the other singers across Europe, and what was the sort of the schedule like for you when you got there and tried to perform it?
It's like a circus. Have you seen the Will Ferrell Eurovision film?
Yes, I have. Not long ago.
It's exactly like that.
Oh, is it?
Honestly, man, if anybody wants to know what it's like to do Eurovision, watch that film, because you look at that and you think this is outrageous. These parties, and they got like, you know, lions and, you know, things. You know, just like, if you can imagine chaos, you got people on stilt walkers, people, you know, juggling knives and like fireworks going off, and that's the minute you get there. I was hungover. I was on the plane. I turned up to Turkey thinking no one's going to care about this. You know, I've got like 5 days to chill by a pool maybe or something, and then we'll just sing and then go home. You get there and it's like the world's press waiting for you. You know, I looked the right state, and from that 5 days you're invited to every country wants to host a party. You know, we ended up in some palace in Turkey with some guy, you know, like, I can't remember who it was. He puts on these ridiculous lavish parties, and every day there's just basically 5 days of heavy drinking. So you've got to basically pace yourself that the day before you sing, you actually have a day off. Otherwise, you're going to turn up and the contest absolutely wrecked. It's one big party. It's like the World Cup. It's like if you can imagine that, it's like parties in the street. Everyone, yeah, it's the closest like going to the Euros or the World Cup, except it's singing instead of football or rugby or whatever. You know, it's absolute chaos. So you just got to make sure that the day before you maybe take a break so you can, you know, hold it together for 3 minutes. But the backstage is exactly the same. It's you know, I was on my own with the guitar. I had a couple of backing singers, but most people in there, you got like each band or each, I don't know, act, each country, and they've got like 30 or 40 people on stage with them. So the green room and all these bits absolutely packed. You get like a couple of minutes rehearsal. You get to go through it once the day before maybe, and then on the day everyone's getting their makeup and hair done. Well, obviously, you know, I'm not involved in that, so I'm just sat there just waiting, and but it's absolute chaos. It's like a pantomime, a circus. It's total chaos, and there's alcohol everywhere. It's mental. I do it again in a heartbeat. It was one of the best weeks I had. It was just like a big party. It was a lot of fun.
With that in mind, you know, a lot of people do put you up there with the likes of, you know, there's Catherine Jenkins, you know, there's Manic Street Preachers, and you've got Stereophonics. You're up there because a lot of people, you would think of Welsh singers, you know, your name is up there, you know, and I've always, I remember once someone asked me a question, and this is not me trying to, you know, be very, welcome and everything, be humble and everything, but someone said to me once, he said, top 5 Welsh singers, in my opinion, and I said, and I know a lot of people mentioned Tom Jones, and I thought, yeah, you can mention Tom Jones because of what he's achieved and where he's come from, in the valleys and everything. But that's just, I always thought using Tom Jones was an overrated answer. It's like, yeah, it's an easy answer. And I've always said, oh, Super Furry Animals or James Fox, because I think, and Manic Street Preachers and all these bands and singers, and indie, singers and bands, I always felt that they don't get enough credit as they should, and that's why I always try to say, look, if you're going to listen to songs or whatever, you've got to listen to Manic Street, you've got to listen to Super Furry Animals, you've got to listen to James Fox and all these singers, because these are the ones that are actually getting the pure authenticity and the art into the songs and everything. But like yourself, because you performed with Stuart Cable, and what was he like to be? Because he's, I don't know how long he's gone now, but what was it like to be in the presence of Stuart Cable, and what was it like as a person?
Well, firstly, thank you. I never been put in the same sort of sentence as the Manics and the Phonics, apart from James Fox is nothing like the Manics and the Phonics. So have it the right way round. When all those bands, I grew up around the same time as, because they're from I'm from Bargood, the Manics are from Blackwood, the Phonics from Mountain Ash, it's all like, we were pretty much all doing the same club and pub circuit around the time, but they were writing their own songs, whereas I was singing covers. My songwriting happened a bit later. But I got to meet, Stuart quite a lot of times, just a lovely guy, as everybody say, big larger-than-life character, very talented guy, and gone way too soon, It's, tragic. But, the whole guys, Kelly and everybody I met, it's always very welcoming. But, I came through a slightly different route, because I worked all clubs and pubs, workmen's clubs and stuff for, 10, 12 years before I had any sort of break in London. But in order to do that, I had to go on one of these reality TV shows. So that sort of blotted my copybook a bit with these people, because they were sort of like, so that was a bit of selling out. But I got to 27 and I still hadn't got a record deal and things like that. So it was, and back in the early noughties, that was sort of the way it was. Everyone was either on Pop Idol or Pop Stars. It was one every week, wasn't it? If you weren't part of that, it was very hard to get a look in. So, I'm happy I did it. But yeah, and I duetted with Catherine Jenkins at the Albert Hall. You mentioned her. That's she's fantastic. Obviously, we shared a flat together for a while actually in London when I first moved here. But just to be mentioned in with all them is a big honour. Thank you.
No worries, no problem at all. It was just, and one thing I really wanted to know is that you mentioned Lulu a moment, and you were supporting. You were at a concert or something, if I'm right.
I toured with Lulu. Yeah, I did the whole tour. Yeah, the whole tour with Lulu. She was great, man. And yeah, the thing about Lulu's fans is they got there early. So normally, if you're a support act, you're playing empty seats. But with Lulu's, so every venue she did, and there's some big venues on that tour, they were all in there, sat in there like 7 o'clock. So I had a full audience every night, and it was that was a really good tour. I enjoyed that. Yeah, she's a lot of fun. I didn't realize she was Scottish until we went to Glasgow and did an interview, and she suddenly went from this American accent to like, "All right, pal." I was like, "What happened to you?" But yeah, she was a lot of fun.
Well, right, man. Something like that, basically.
Didn't know a Scottish man, apparently.
Yeah. What the hell is that? But you know what? Speaking of, when you mentioned about musical theatre and everything, Tim Rice's name popped up, and he's musical theatre royalty, the man who who's written some. Co-wrote some brilliant songs with Andrew Lloyd Webber, and he was in, you gotta look at Jesus Christ Superstar and Phantom of the, no, not Phantom of the Opera, all his early days work with Andrew Lloyd Webber. But what was it like to work with Tim Rice? A genius, without a doubt.
Yeah.
What was it like to be working with him and to share ideas with him?
Yeah, he is a genius. You're right. He's up there, isn't he? I think he's one of the only 3 people to win an Emmy, an Oscar, a Grammy, and a Tony, isn't it? He's won all 4, which is incredible. So obviously, when you're writing with him, you're a little bit intimidated, as you can imagine. He's got a few more awards than I have. But I met him back in 2004 when I did Jesus Christ Superstar. And he came backstage and he really enjoyed my performance. I was playing Judas at the time. We became friends. And then he recommended me for a Billy Joel musical on Broadway, so he was very supportive. And then we just kept in touch and we became good friends. And a lot of his gigs and concerts I've done over the last 15 years. So back, I think it was 2012. I'd done a lot of work for the military over the last 20 years in Afghanistan, Iraq, and all these sorts of places. That the British Legion asked me to do the Poppy Appeal song. So I thought, well, maybe I can ask Tim if he wanted to do the lyrics, which he did. You know, he said he doesn't normally do like one-off songs. You know, he writes a full musical. So it was just well, he's done that, but you know, I guess he's obviously known more for his musicals. But saying that, he's written a few hits. But we just wrote this one song together. I did the music, and we didn't actually collaborate too much. I did the music, sent it over, and he kind of wrote the lyrics. And then we had a few days just going through it, maybe tweaking a few lyrics here and there. But when somebody like that gives you lyrics, it's very hard to, you know, they were great, and maybe you wouldn't sort of turn around and say, oh, there was one line I did say to him actually, and he would say this. I said, that line there, does that sort of sing? Does that sing right? Does that scan right? Is that bit at the end there? And he was deadly silence, man. And he just looked up jokingly, he looked up at his trophy cabinet, all his awards, and said, I've done this before, you know. Fair enough, I'll shut up, I'll sit back down. Yeah.
That's one of the things, you know, because with me, I mean, I've grown up, you know, performing and everything, and things with me, I sort of acting and script writing has always been my kind of thing, and one of the things I've always tried to always assess is how do other playwrights, you know, how do other these writers work their way and do their craft and everything, and I remember, you know, I produced, directed, and written 2 plays, you know, just out of my own backing because I really wanted to write a play. But I remember my fiance, she's in university still at the moment, finishing her final year, and she took a script writing course. And one of the funniest things is that she went, I don't know how to write a script, I don't know. And I went, right, what are you writing? Screenplay, play, whatever, what are you doing? She went, I want to write a theatre play. I went, right then, this is what you got to do. So she wrote this 10-page starting of the script, and I just turned around and said, right, and this is what I'm going to show you. So I just took it over, and within 10 minutes, the script was completely different, and this is how your character should sound like. And then, how did you do that? I just went, well, it's years of practice, years of, you know, doing what, you know, if you're used to doing it, and it's going to come naturally. And then ever since then, she's not left me alone when it comes, maybe she's going to sit here and you're going to help me out. Like, oh, come on, leave me alone.
Yeah, right.
I got James Fox on the podcast, leave me alone. But with that in mind, in theatre, musical theatre now, have you ever, like I said, we do a lot of research, but I always want to know off the bat and everything. Did you do a lot of musical theatre in your career?
Well, that came as a surprise, really, because, like I said, I've been like a struggling musician and just gigging around every gig known to man until I was like 27. And after I did that Film Academy show, it was a producer called Bill Kenwright got in touch with my manager at the time and said, look, we'd like him to do Jesus Christ Superstar. I didn't know what that was. I had no idea what that was. You know, I said, well, I'll do it as long as I'm Jesus. I didn't know, you know what was the main part of anything. It sounded like the main part. But so they told me they wanted me to be Judas, and I'll check it out. And that was basically my introduction to musical theatre. It's sort of lucky in a way that when you're on one of those shows, it was actually after Eurovision that happened. And when you've had that exposure, you know, you kind of get straight to the front of the queue, you know. So I know there's a lot of people who've been studying very hard and, you know, went to acting, drama school, and then I ended up sort of taking this role on. So it was it's a bit daunting. I've never done it before. But then I spent 10 years doing that, you know, between that show, Chess, Moving Out, the Billy Joel one, the Let It Be one, the Beatles one. So it kind of took up 10 years of my life, musical theatre, which is great. But now I'm back sort of writing my own stuff again. You know, it was a nice departure, but I realised that, you know, I wanted to go back to songwriting because it's a tough grind, man. 8 shows a week, you know, especially on tours and stuff. You know, it's yeah, it's a good gig, you know, but yeah, you can't stand here with a guitar and a beer, you know, when you're on in the stage in the West End. It's got to be a bit more professional. So yeah, I've done 10 years of that, so I can slack off again.
Would you ever consider doing writing a musical? Would you ever just one day go, I'd like to write something about this, or I would like to do a musical theatre Joe?
Not right. I just did an album this year, obviously, because we had not a lot else to do, and that nearly broke me, man. And that was just about, that's just me, all my songs. I've had to think of all these different characters. Maybe it'd be easier, I guess, if it's not just self-reflective stuff. Maybe if you've got characters like that, it might be easier to sort of shoehorn songs in and write. But not something I've really thought of. No, I did write some songs for a musical a couple of years back with a friend of mine, but they were just single songs that we sort of shoehorned into a musical. But no, not no. I think my musical theatre days. You never know, but yeah, it's not something I'm focused on right now. No.
So you mentioned Bill Kemp, right? And my dad would have loved you if you were here right now. He's a big Everton fan.
I was going to say Everton fan, right?
Yeah. What was he like? Because my dad would probably ask. My dad would probably ask, "What's he like as an Everton fan?" I'm going, Dad, I want to know what's he like as a theatre producer. Because I've seen some of his work. I've seen Shawshank Redemption on stage. He's very well known as producing movies onto stage, which I think, oh, that's clever. He's going to be well known for producing Blood Brothers, and
right.
all those particular plays and musicals. But what was he like as a theatre producer? And what was it like to work with him as a professional theatre man, as he's originally did?
That's an interesting. You don't know how interesting that question is because obviously he's been very successful. Gives a lot of people a lot of work, and we kind of fell out, for want of a better word. Yeah, so it's been a long time now. Yeah, no, to be honest, it was his show, but we worked with a guy called Bob Thompson was the director. So we didn't have a lot of hands-on sort of work day to day with Bill Kemp. It's his company. So in terms of working with him on a day-to-day basis, I wouldn't know. He popped in a few times and was very sort of, he'd offer, some direction notes and things like that, and oversaw it, I guess. But in terms of day-to-day work, we didn't really work with him. And then I kind of left that job in a bit of a cloud. I won't tell you the parting words, but it's safe to say we haven't spoken since.
He was probably too busy working on Coronation Street, if you know what I mean.
Possibly, yeah. Well, yeah, it depended if Everton won, what mood he'd be in. So, he's normally in a bad mood.
Yeah, that's the same as me. It's like I remember, I'm a bit like that. It's some of my friends. I remember I directed, helped direct a play of mine called The Waiting Room, and we did one rehearsal on a Sunday, and I went on an away trip to it was Carnarvon or something like that with Barry, and we lost terribly. And the next day, because it was a long journey, and I went into Cardiff, I was stuck in the Angry Mood, and I don't know why. My mate Adam always played one of the main parts. He always take his driving routine. I will hold that against you if you do it again. And but what I did was I came in, I went, right, I'm not in a good mood. The team lost. I came back from Carnarvon late at night. So you have a good performance and throw a chair at you. And one person said, and I just went to go chair at him. And lucky I did because
you did, right, yeah.
Lucky I did because I'm no Tarantino or some professional. We love to do all that sort of thing, and I look back and laugh about it because it was stupid, and I love doing stupid things. So,
Hey, look, I was a very hot-headed 27-year-old that's been in pub bands and used to drinking, on stage and throwing guitars around and falling out of pubs, and then to be in an 8-show-a-week musical theatre with all these professionals, it was a bit of a wake-up call and a baptism of fire. It was I had to do a lot of evolving.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I always wanted to know about this because a lot of interviewers and a lot of podcasters, they always talk about the big venues and the big venues like the Motorpool Arena or the Millennium Stadium, or Royal Albert Hall or whatever. But I always wanted to know what was the atmosphere and the environment like in pubs and clubs and social clubs, because I always feel like that's a bit of a more challenging area to do than it is at a concert because you got I think I'm answering the question for myself in a minute, but but with the pubs, you're there with the punters, they're drinking constantly and going to the bar, and then you got the concert people that's there and they're just fixated on you. But what was that like to be in the pubs and social clubs, just singing,
I tell you what, mate, that's a baptism of fire. If you can do that for 10 years back in the day, as it was, any gig from the Albert Hall to like I've done army base in Afghanistan. I've had it where we've done the forward operating bases in Afghanistan where they got people firing over the top of you in a tent. If you've done some of the gigs, the pub gigs in South Wales prior to that, you'll be fine. It was I remember getting like £30 for a gig, and being paid off at half time, given 20, and said you're not even worth that. It's brutal, man. It's brutal. And like because they're there for the bingo, aren't they? They're there for the bingo and the drink, and if the act's any good, then that's a bonus. But it was, you cut your teeth there. That honestly, for like the gigs I've done in the Albert Hall or like Afghanistan or Royal Festival Hall or Millennium Stadium, wherever it is, it's a breeze because everything's done for you. You walk out, it's just it's just a big crowd. It's pitch black. It might be one day, it might be 10, 20,000. It doesn't really matter. When you got like 200 people in, I don't know, say any of the workmen's clubs. I won't mention one to be unfair, but any of them, you walk out to that. Yeah, that's still the scariest thing in my, that was a bigger challenge. If you come through that experience, I think you'll get through anything because everything's a breeze after that. I call upon those experiences whenever I'm doing anything now. It's like, well, if you can work those rooms, anything's easy after that.
Without mentioning any pubs or clubs or anything like that, was there a particular moment for you that stood out where you look back and it was either a tense moment or a feel-good moment? If you've got a particular story you want to tell us about,
Good God.
Especially for those singers who are starting out.
Yeah. I mean, they were. Oh my God. I mean, they were. It got dark, man. I mean, I was doing it 6 or 7 nights a week for 10 years. You'd be out the back of fire escapes in the snow and the rain. Like the treacherous these. The straight up staircases carrying all your gear into the back of this pub. And everyone's smoking in there. You literally might as well have been smoking yourself. Back in the day, it was just like fog. Well, we used to do this gig. It was, which one sticks out? It was called the Spunk Shed in Newbridge. Was it Newbridge? I'm pretty sure. Was it the Memo? Oh, yeah, whatever it was. I'm pretty sure. Was it Newbridge? Spunk Shed. Damn it! I got to get that right. They all blend into one. But this place in particular was like a Sunday morning gig, or like 12 o'clock, or 11 o'clock, or whatever. And 300 or 400, young people at the time. It wasn't like an older workers' club. It was like, well, they ranged from everything there, 18 to 80, I guess. But that was tough. And we won them over. I remember playing Roll With It, Oasis. If it wasn't prior to that song, we were going to get bottled out of there, man. We were on the cusp of getting bottled and thrown out. It was, we were playing things like Help From My Friends and, singing the blues and all that. And it was getting a bit edgy. And then we pulled that one out the bag. And the place went off, and then it was all right. Oh God! Between that and being, paid off, singing in front of dartboards, the dartboard light is your stage light. So, when you get your own dressing room in the West End and somebody's, preparing everything for you, it's you realise how lucky you are because if you've done 10 years of that and worse, then yeah, God, man, I could write a book on it. It's got to be what 10 years times 52 weeks, and it's got to be like 5,000 gigs there. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's yeah. I wouldn't wish
it mad one, yeah, because it's very humbling as well because you get a lot of singers. I know I'm only going through by experience of listening to some singers, where they come from and that, and that's why I've not been like a Welsh biased person or anything like that, but that's why I've always appreciated a lot of Welsh singers and where they come from, and that's why I appreciate Tom Jones because he's always talked about I've come from this, I've had to do in pubs and clubs and everything, but then it's like Shirley Bassey as well. Tiger Bay, as it was called back then, it was a rough part of Cardiff, and and she's come from that. So a lot of people think, yeah, but you gotta know where the background is before anyone can judge the character as they are now. And but was there any character that you thought was in your time career where you thought that they were too prima donna and forgotten where they come from? Was there any people like that, or were they just all humble and a lot of gratitude?
No, there's a lot of people like that. There's a lot of people like that. And if you had any of that ego, like you said, going into even if you were like a big club act, because I got the stage, I was getting paid like £10 more than everybody else on a Saturday, so they expected it to be really good. if anybody walked in with any ego, I remember there's a few back in the day in those clubs that used to walk in as if they just, were number one in the chart, yeah, and I don't know what it is. I think maybe it's a Welsh thing, or I don't know, but that sort of deprecating way, I guess. I'll go on. If you walk on in those stages with an ego like that, you're going to get found out pretty quick. Same with the army. I've done gigs in front of 2,000, 4,000 people in Afghanistan outdoors. If you walk on and think you're anything other than where you've come from and what you are, you're not going to get out of there in a hurry. So I think it does keep you humble. And they were some of the best times in my life. I've been paid well to do really nice gigs, but the best time I had was in a piano bar at Blackpool, getting paid £50 a week for doing 3 hours a night, and literally working for beer money. We're just very lucky to be doing music for a living. That's what I always come back to. And it can be successful, or you can be back in a workman's pub tomorrow. I'm just very lucky to be just singing. I've never worked a day in my life, so touch wood. That's. But a lot of people forget that, and a lot of people get a lot of success. There's a lot of people on the shows I was on, the Fame Academy shows. The minute they got on to the TV stages, thought, "Oh, I've arrived now," and they started treating all the runners and the production staff like they were something special. You've got to be very careful, because there's a lot of people. You're going to meet a lot of people on the way up and down, as they say, isn't it? So, yeah. I'm just lucky to be doing music every day, man. If it resonates with people and is successful, great. But I can't do anything else. So. Yeah, that's all it is.
You supported Tina Turner, and you worked with Let It Be on the shows with the Beatles and everything. So first of all, I'm assuming that you've met Paul McCartney because you had to replace him at one point, or did you ever work with it? Did you ever see Paul McCartney like that? No,
it's weird. No, it's No, because I was playing him for 3 years in that show. There's obviously him and Ringo left, obviously with George and John no longer with us. So out of the 4 Beatles, I was one of them that possibly could have been in the audience at some point. We opened up on Broadway, and he was in New York, but he may have turned up, but he didn't. He certainly didn't make himself known to me. Rumor was that he was coming to the show, but he didn't come and see me. Maybe he was that offended. I don't know. I've met him outside of that show in some bizarre places, but not during that show. But I never got to meet him. But talking about not being humble, I mean, there's one. We had a long chat in a canteen in a place called Music Bank once. Tina Turner was chatting to me backstage as if, just like asking questions about me, really humble, and then you meet a few, and a few from my past, like you said, that don't even answer their calls anymore because I'm not, on the A list.
Well, let's talk about your recent one now. It's the Fire and Coal. So what's the story behind that then? Where did you what was the reason behind Fire and Coal?
Well, that's the second single from this album I've done this year. Obviously I had a lot of gigs planned this year from last March onwards, and like everyone else, everything went a bit south. So I thought, what can I do here? I'm gonna I'll spend as long as it takes to do another album, because I've been desperate to do one already, but too busy with touring and musical theatre and other bits and pieces. So the only advantage to this year having stopped was the fact I was allowed to record, and I did it all in here. Apart from the drums, my mate did them in America, but everything was just recorded in this room. So I did a whole album, and that was the song really. That's a song. I mean, a lot of the album talks about my sort of journey to this point, really. Like, I've had a few ups and downs, a few addictions, and a few bits and pieces to deal with, and it was just sort of like going through my life really, and jotting these bits and pieces down, and realize, wow, I'm from, and because of where I'm from, Wales, and because of all the experiences I just talked about, that sort of stood me in good stead really to cope with all the ups and downs of this career, because we are sort of made on raised on fire and coal, as the song says. I was raised the right way, and it's got my feet on the ground and humble and all the rest of it, I like to think. So that's that song, talking about some demons in my past, some sort of gambling things I've been through and bits and pieces, and how my sort of upbringing got me through it, really.
You know what, fire and coal, it sounds a bit more like it's like a metaphor for the Welshman, because where Wales have come from, of coal mining industries and everything. It sounds a bit like a definition of Wales kind of thing, like a metaphor of, you know, the working class background of mining. I don't know why, it just popped into my head, because I know it's a song about your troubles in class and where you come from and how you built yourself as a character and everything. And I sort of found, I thought, is that like a Welsh thing as well, you know, because, you know, the miners, I thought it was,
Of course, yeah.
but I listened as well, it's really good. Fair play, I
Yeah.
mean, and I haven't got like, and I'll be honest, I haven't got like a specific taste in music. A lot of people say, "Oh, you're a musical fan." I go, I listen to musicals, but I wouldn't say I'm a, you know, I'm a diehard, you know, musical people like some friend of mine. And then, you know, because I listen to, I mean, I've only been to one concert in my life. I will put my answer, only one, and that was Iron Maiden in Cardiff.
No, that's the one, man. Yeah, I went
Well,
to Iron Maiden concert. Yeah, that's
the one
good
thing,
stuff.
I tell you one thing, it was because it happened a day after the Manchester bombings, and I will never forget it. And I was a big getter because, you know, a friend of mine introduced me to Iron Maiden, and he said to me, "This took you so long to get into Iron Maiden. How dare you?" And so he showed me, you know, Fear of the Dark, you know, Brave New World, and all these songs. And I thought, oh my God, why have I not listened to them since I was born? You know, and just and when the Manchester bombings happened, I thought, I'm glad I'm not going to see Iron Maiden. And then all of a sudden, you know, still carrying on. And I was in the Cardiff Motorpool Arena, and all of a sudden, you know, Bruce Dickinson and all things, like, giving it all. I thought, I am possessed by the Iron Maiden. And there was my first ever concert. A lot of people sitting thinking, not been to this for years for you. And I went, no, Iron Maiden, my first one, and probably my only one for a while now. But, you know,
That's a great one, man. And they're very theatrical. It's weird. There's a lot of theatre in their stuff as well. You could make a musical with their stuff in a heartbeat. And you got the Eddie guy. I mean,
yeah.
that's where you want to start writing.
Well, do you
That's,
know what? Like I said, I've got few. I have got a few. I will. I mean, I love Phil Collins. I've always been a big fan of Phil Collins, but that's just me because I just love some of his songs. But I said to a friend of mine, like, it was my mate Nick Hewitt, so I'll give you a shout out there, Nick. But I was in the car with him. We were coming back from a Barry game, and I said, "Why is there not being an Iron Maiden musical? You just have to listen to the lyrics. How, you know, they tell a story. They tell you. They take you on a journey." And I'm thinking, and I said, I wouldn't be surprised. Fear of the Dark was a villain's song, you know, because my God, that would have been like, oh wait a minute, I'm okay, right? I'll probably do that. I have to send a letter out to Bruce.
write it down, man. Yeah.
But but it's great, you know, to talk about music and everything instead of talking about. I know we talked about Cardiff and everything, but it's great.
Yeah, it's not been a good. We won last night, but it's not been a good. It's not been a good couple of days, you know. So I'm getting over the Swansea defeat. So there we go.
Yeah, that's the thing though, because when I started doing this podcast, I wanted to get away from a lot of football stuff because, you know, it's like me, you know, when I talk about, you know, podcasting and theatre writing, a lot of my mates always say to me, well, what defines you as a person? You know, are you more focused on the podcasting or the football side or the playwright side, the theatre, whatever? And I think, well, I don't know, I'd like to just scoop it all up and just go, I'm everything, you know, and that's why I try to do this podcast now with Let's Talk with the likes of you and hopefully others more in the future, because I really want to learn more and probably learn one or two lessons from the likes of you or whatever in the future, and, you know, just talk to people, you know, and see where they come from, and it's been brilliant so far. But one other thing I really want to mention, and my missus will kill me if I don't mention this, but it's Wet, Wet, Wet. You know, you did a supporting one with them, and as a group, you know, always like to work with them.
Do you know what? I wrote a lot of songs with It's Graham Clark, the bass player that I got friendly with back in the early 2000s. I was a big fan of the band, like most people were. And we started writing some songs together. So we've got about an albums with the songs that never got released. One or two did. They were on, I think, a B-side of a Sony song I had out at some point. Yeah, they're a good bunch, man. They're very, very kind to me. You know, I've supported them on tour quite a lot. They give me some great opportunities. I played Wembley, you know, Wembley Arena, supporting them, which I've always wanted to play Wembley, just to walk out and say hello, Wembley. You know, that was fun. They're a good bunch. You know. Yeah, I haven't spoken to the guys for a while, but they were. They're very, very generous with the time and very generous with the tours they offered me, and, you know, like I said, wrote lots of songs on them. yeah, I'll have to catch up with them. It's been a while. You lose track of people, man. It's yeah, especially in this business.
So what's the future for you then, James? Well, what's the next plan for you then?
Right. Well, the next, I sort of, we did Fire and Call was sort of October into November. That was on the radio and released. So ideally, I would have got a song out sort of pretty much now. But with all the Christmas stuff happening, you get lost in the wash there. It's like there's too many. You can't compete with the Christmas market. So the next single is called The Rest of Our Lives, and that's going to be out at the end of January 29th. And then the album I've been working on all year is called All the Fours, and that's out on February the 5th. So, I'll take, this time off now, a couple of weeks, and then hopefully things will kick in middle of January again. Start promoting The Rest of Our Lives. Hopefully that does well. Then the album, hopefully people like that. And then, you know what, that'll take us up to March, and then, you never know. Is the world going to be in a place where we can start performing again? That's the plan. But, that's the plan. I want to get out there and play. It's not right. I wrote these songs, I've recorded them all. It's been a year. I've had them all by that point. So you want to get out and play them, and tour them and stuff. So I'm just hoping that the world goes back for everybody to play, so we can go to gigs and play. But I'm excited about releasing the album. But hopefully we get to perform it live.
Final question for you then. I've always asked this on many other podcasts, and it's becoming a tradition for me to ask people this. But how do you look back on your career?
Very lucky, mate. Very lucky, because I know a lot more talented people than me that never got a chance to do anything. But I also know a lot of people that have not much talent that managed to do quite a lot. So I think I mentioned in the earlier question, just if I'm doing music, then I'm happy. But I've had some amazing opportunities. Through it, luck, hard work, whatever. A mixture of everything, I think. But if it ended tomorrow, which I don't want it to, I'll be very happy. But I think this album and where I am now is sort of a place of contentment. It feels like it's at half time, I'm like sort of very lucky. What a great experience, what a great career up until now. I want a bit more of it. I want it to be more about my sort of songs and what I've got to say. And look, the songs talk about looking back over that part of my career as well. So I'd like that to be a big focus. Because at certain times it was about having the right haircut and being on the right TV show or magazine, which was a lot of fun. I got to do some crazy things, some of it legal. So I'm just hoping to that the songwriting sort of carries on from now on, and that gets more recognition, or more, not so much recognition, but I can get the songs out to people, because I haven't done a lot of songwriting in the last couple of years. But I wouldn't change anything, man. There's been some incredible highs and lows, but it got me to here, so very lucky.
And I just want to say as well, James, thank you so much for coming on the show. First episode as well, and I really do appreciate you finding the time just to come on and talk about your career and just chat, really. Thank you very much.
It's been good to chat to you, mate. Thank you very much. And you're always welcome down the city if you ever want to come back. I know those two guys were, but point them out. I know people down there. So
no worries. Cheers, James. Thank you very much. Take care.
Pleasure, mate.